bubonic plague. Bubonic plague. Yeah. Then the rat come back straight from the bionic attack, laced up with robotic appendages.
Welcome to the Daily Space Weather, folks. Just listen to some old tracks here. Shout out to Dr. Sam Afif. Let's look at the sun, as we do most days around this time. First, we'll check out 193 angstroms. There is a diffuse coronal hole south of the equator here, associated with the South Pole. We're looking at about 9 hours of solar activity here, maybe 8.5, something like that, here on 1220. Small active region up here north of the equator, cycle 25 plage. Otherwise, pretty low levels of activity. We don't see any coronal mass ejections or sunspots. Here's a 304 angstroms view. Some filaments around the edges of the disk. Another active region popping up here south of the equator. We'll look at it more in depth later. KP index back down to 1, coming off of geomagnetic unrest conditions. Solar wind speed remains elevated as a result of a coronal hole wind stream. And here is the real-time solar wind. Phi angle down at 54, so no magnetic connection with that coronal hole at the current time. Solar wind density, 2.98 protons per cubic centimeter. And we finally see a downtick in the solar wind speed there, down to 465 kilometers per second. Spent most of the day around 500 yesterday and got up to around 540, it looks like. So that's going to ramp down, and the electron flux is going to ramp up. 10.7 centimeter radial flux still at 70 as solar minimum conditions persist. Here's the data from the ACE spacecraft, looking corroborative with the Discover. And here's a GOES X-ray flux, and it's looking pretty flat here. Not as low as it ever gets, but pretty low. And there's a small uptick going on in the electron flux, coming off of the floor here as we forecasted yesterday. I don't know if anybody else is forecasting electron flux, but we do it here. Relativistic electrons have jumped up a little bit. We expect this to continue to increase here for a day or two. Speaking of a day or two, what are you doing for the solstice? The solstice takes place at 11:19 and 26 seconds on Saturday night, December 21st. Will you be bringing in the winter with us? We'll be doing a live stream during it, so perhaps check it out. Let's go back to data. Looking at the ionosphere. This map courtesy Bureau of Meteorology of Australia. And we see continued ionospheric charge ups at nighttime over the South Pacific. It looks like it's at actually a higher latitude now, around 30 degrees down here. And the sun is not over that part of the Earth at that time that charge up's occurring, folks. So we're getting a huge charge disparity there. Probably has to do with the South Atlantic anomaly. And yeah, it's there's some interesting stuff that we're going to be covering momentarily about things like the Earth's geomagnetic dynamo. Now, the GOES magnetometer has smoothed out a little bit. And welcome to the South Pole-oriented portion of the heliospheric current sheet. The Earth's field lines have snapped across. Why did the field lines cross the current sheet? To get to the other polarity, of course. And there you can see the current situation. This is the top view ecliptic plane field plot, as if you're looking at the sun from the North Pole. And you can see stereo A out here on the left, stereo B out here on the right. And thanks to new viewers, Thanks everybody who's been subscribing to the channel. We appreciate that. And when you go to the last frame, you can see the Earth doesn't show any field force line, an indication it's most likely already snapped into the South Pole associated portion. This data 1 hour and 30 minutes old. Just keep in mind, folks, the magnetic environment can change with no warning. Now here's a silly article from phys.org talking about iron snow in the Earth's core. Now this is because it's assumed that the Earth's core is made of iron and nickel because of, let's just say, misunderstandings of cosmology. The way objects accrete, the way objects form in solar systems, for instance. A total lack of understanding of the way these things work. Now, I'm not suggesting that the Earth's core or some aspect of the Earth's interior is not offset, but the idea that iron precipitation is happening in there, I guess, would be necessary for the nickel-iron dynamo theory to be legit. However, I don't believe it is legit, and we are looking to do a collabo video about the generation of the Earth's dynamo. So if you'd like to come on the show and talk about it, drop us a line. The email address is smAshomash@gmail.com. Now, this stuff is all calculated because of seismic waves, because seismic waves act oddly in the Earth's core, suggesting that the core may be solid, the core may be liquid, and nobody knows. Now, the Curie temperature suggests that the Earth's magnetic dynamo cannot be generated by liquid iron. But let's just tell our viewers that we're going to leave links to the article if you want to read about the iron snow in the Earth's core, allegedly. And it all has to do with the way seismic waves pass through the planet. Here's 4 hours of magnetosphere movies looking at the magnetohydrodynamic pressure here. And this model, courtesy University of Michigan, we do see a bit of pressure there in the magnetotail region, sparked by that solar wind speed. And next we'll look at the ground magnetic perturbations, and we see some oddities, magnetic pulses coming out of the South Pole, stretching well into the Indian Ocean, and indeed all the way across Australia into the Pacific. You'll see it happen down in this region right here. As during this magnetic excursion, the South Pole appears to be creeping into the southern Indian Ocean, and the North Pole appears to be creeping toward Siberia. And we do see significant perturbations at both poles. Really, there are 3 poles, 2 in the north, 1 in the south, possibly 2 forming in the south also. And we've got Mauna Loa on the volcano list. First, let's look at the earthquake rundown. Largest of the past 24 was a 5.6, I believe. Let me just scroll up the list here. And that 5.6 at the Northern Mariana Islands was at 186 kilometers depth. Okay, largest quake of the past 24 must have been this 5.9 at Guatemala. Not sure if it was downgraded. We typically only really talk about 6s. And there's a 5.1 magnitude aftershock in that same region. Here's a deep quake in Alaska. We've seen a bit of an uptick in Alaskan quakes over the past weeks. Another deep quake strikes Indonesia there at 112 kilometers and a 4.3 magnitude. And just bear with me while I scroll up the list here. 4.4 strikes Tajikistan at depth 142 kilometers. Now there's an odd one. This is located near Equatorial Guinea, just off the coast of Africa there. Does not appear to be near a plate boundary. 5.5 magnitude quake. One of the larger quakes we've seen for a while near California. And we have seen quakes every maybe twice a month or so near Petrolia. That one's a 4.1 magnitude. Now here's an interesting one. This one occurring at -1 kilometer, so at 1,000 meters. And again, Mauna Loa has appeared on the list on Volcano Discovery. That one most likely associated with magmatic activity up in the mountain. There's where that one occurred. And let me just get back to that point on the list. Here's a deep quake at Argentina. As we see continued deep quakes in western South America, I would not be surprised to see a large quake kick off there. Two quakes strike Pahala. They're both small at a 2.5 magnitude. Here's a Central American quake at Guatemala, 197 kilometers depth there. Here's another quake at 300 meters above sea level near Volcano, Hawaii. That's a town, by the way. Another nearly 100-kilometer quake strikes Tajikistan. And let's continue on here as there's lots and lots more stuff to cover today. Looking at the pressure maps on windy.com, we'll just let that advance for a moment. It's 4:03. Do you know where your pressure systems are? And we'll just let that advance for all of you earthquake forecasters out there who understand the way low pressure systems seem to relate to earthquakes, something that's recently become mainstream science, basically. Let's do the volcano rundown next. Kluchevskoy back on the list, an uptick there, producing a 23,000-foot ash plume. Please do not attempt to pole vault Kluchevskoy out there on the Kamchatka Peninsula. In easternmost Russia, Mount Aso still on the list, flight level 6,000. Sakurajima, flight level 10,000 there. Explosive activity at Tacona, producing an ash plume of 7,000 feet there. And here, let me read it. Mauna Loa on the Big Island of Hawaii. HVO report that Mauna Loa volcano is not currently erupting. The deformation and seismicity rates have not changed substantially over the past week and remain above long-term background levels. Throughout the past week, HVO observed approximately 53 small magnitude earthquakes, nearly all smaller than magnitude 2, detected beneath the upper elevations of the volcano. Most of the quakes occurred at shallow depths, at less than 6 kilometers below sea level, and as we just demonstrated, a lot of them occurred well above sea level. Not sure about Popocatépetl. Is Popocatépetl erupting? We're not sure. Say it aloud. Popocatépetl. Popocatépetl, I believe is how it's actually pronounced. Anyway, emissions not observed there. Volcanic ash cloud reported from Ravenador. And continuous emissions at Sabancaya. Check out the value-added services. We're looking at the U.S. Doppler radar map. Looks like some heavy rains striking Washington. Let's hope a heavy earthquake doesn't strike Washington. And here's a lightning map. Lightning is pretty chill right now, except over Australia. Let's zoom in. Quite a bit of lightning, a serious string of storms apparently across the central portion of the country there. Adelaide. Shout out Adelaide. There is thunder rolling in. And Melbourne. Here's a U.S. Water vapor map. When the Doppler's not telling you what you want to see, folks, check out the water vapor map. The water cannot hide, even when it's not condensed onto a cloud. Now, we use a visible satellite also. At nighttime, we use the shortwave satellite. Let's do a demo real quick. When you want to see what the clouds are doing at nighttime, check out the shortwave radiation map. Keep in mind this will show anomalies around the day-night terminator. Let's just zoom in on this location here, around the Oklahoma Panhandle. And there's what the clouds are doing there. There's a bit of a convergence happening there. That's why I zoomed in on that region. You see lots of straight lines forming in the sky. Looks like a lot of snow. Or are they low clouds? I think it's actually snow. Anyway, use the shortwave. It's 3.9 nanometers if you want to see the cloud layers at night. Just check out the NASA GOES interactive weather satellites. It's a good time. By the way, thanks everybody viewing on Twitch as we see our stats jumping up. Thanks new subscribers, etc. By the way, if you're thinking about getting a cycling-based gift, why not get a gift card from VeloShop? They'll ship things to you. Check out theveloshop.net. And by the way, thanks patrons for being the real associate producers of the show. Please consider becoming a patron and supporting the channel as we expand our operation from the ground level. We'll be doing a lot more things, folks, like assisting and studying and reporting on the unified theory of physics, as well as doing things like writing scientific papers and helping people to understand the relationship between space weather and Earth effects and all that sort of stuff. And thanks, Smash Team. Stay tuned for lots of bonus features, such as the That Is an Ass and That Is a Hole in the Ground section, where we go vulgarity free and we talk about whatever we want. Follow us on other social media like BitChute, by the way. Did you watch our video last night about the analysis of Heat Miser and Snow Miser, as well as tonight's movie pick? Have you pressed like and subscribe on YouTube? Please do if you enjoy the content. Again, check out our video there, analyzing Heat Miser and Snow Miser, the elemental entities depicted in the 1974 stop-motion animation film, The Year Without a Santa Claus. We left links below the video yesterday. Now, let's talk about that song, which, by the way, don't let it get stuck in your head, because it's way too catchy.
Christmas, I'm Mr. Sun. I'm Mr. Heat Blister.
Now, last night we watched Christmas Break-In, a terrible piece of crap, and I'm not surprised that it has an audience score of 19%, as this movie is complete garbage, and I don't even really have anything legit to say about it, except it's not worth watching. It sucks. It stars Danny Glover.
Hello, boys and girls.
Here's a little teaser from the trailer, which will not get us copyright struck because it'll be less than 8 seconds.
Mouth come out, whoever you are.
It's garbage. It's got a Home Alone-esque sort of a feel to it. Izzy is an energetic 9-year-old, overscheduled and running late. Izzy's parents can't pick her up. On the last day of school before Christmas week, a blizzard complicates the matter. Some extremely inept criminals trespass and break in and take people hostage, and it is so stupid. It's up to Izzy to save the day. Let's talk about the largest arthropod in the history of man, in the history of Earth, as far as we know. It's the Eurypterid. Now, this thing grew to be 8 feet long, and it's quite an interesting animal. If you're into arthropods, this thing's going to be related to stuff like horseshoe crabs and so on. Check it out. See one of these things 8 feet long. Now, of course, it's extinct, folks. Let's talk about the current largest arthropods. The largest arthropods are the Japanese spider crab, pictured here. However, the most massive is the American lobster, the record being 44 pounds, caught in 1977 off of Nova Scotia. Shout out to Ricky, Julian, Bubbles, and Neil Thompson. Coconut crab's a pretty big one, too. Anyway, we've left links to all those sites if you're watching in syndication. And if you're watching on YouTube's live premiere feature, well, cheers, and thanks for tuning in. Let's talk about the government screwing up. Oh, man. The nation of Wakanda was apparently a trading partner with the U.S. government. While we removed the Kingdom of Wakanda from our list of U.S. free trade partners, our relationship will always be strong. Hashtag Wakanda Forever, the USDA tweeted from its official account. Now, this is the kind of stuff that your taxpayer dollars are funding. Let me get a quote. I was very confused at first and thought I misremembered the country from the movie and got it confused with something else, Tseng told Reuters. Before it was removed, Tseng managed to download an Excel sheet listing harmonized scheduled tariff codes for various categories. Apparently, Wakanda and the U.S. have been trading live animals, dairy goods, tobacco, and alcohol. After the list was corrected, Tseng tweeted, well, the USDA took Wakanda off the list. Guess we're in a trade war with them, too. Let's hope some tariffs were applied to Wakanda. Now, if you're not familiar, Wakanda is the home of Black Panther, the Marvel superhero. It's a fictional city depicted in the 2018 blockbuster Black Panther. Now, we're not sure if the U.S. government has gotten any of their, whatever their material is, that the most powerful material in the universe or something. Anyway, I'm not familiar with the mythology, but we've left links to this Reuters article. Are you aware that your phone is listening? Has your phone been doing creepy things? You're not paranoid. Your phone really is keeping tabs. Have you had a conversation about something and never even looked it up on your phone and then found it showing up on your phone? Well, that's because everything you say may be recorded through your microphone. Sound like paranoia? Well, it's happening all around the world. People's phone microphones are turning on. Some of the ways around this is to deactivate Hey Siri, which is the iOS junkware, or disable OK Google, the Android junkware. And there's a whole bunch of menus, and it's a whole mess. Were you aware that Trump's been impeached, but not really, because Nancy Pelosi refuses to send the articles of impeachment to the Senate until she's got some kind of a guarantee that Trump's going to be removed from office, which is ridiculous because it's never going to happen. Another example of the government wasting its time. Hey, Democrats, how about coming up with a candidate? Might be a better way to... Oh, here's another article about removing Black Panther Nation from the USDA trade partners list. The Affordable Care Act's headed back to Supreme Court, and let's continue on here. Now, one of our viewers yesterday, in response to our video about Heat Miser and Snow Miser, told us about the Magic Roundabout, which I guess is this children's show, and I don't really care about that. But when I looked it up, I found this Magic Roundabout in Swindon, England, and what a freaking mess that looks like. Man, oh man, this is a reason to not drive in England as far as I'm concerned. And why are we looking at this? There's the diagram. Eeks. Does that look messy to you? I never want to drive through that. Anyway, let's talk about something similar. It's on Jupiter. It's going to be all over the science news. See that little storm down there? That's a new addition. This used to be only 6 and now it's 7. Notice the way it geometrically formed into this shape. Anyway, links to this article also about this new storm that Juno noticed. This is an infrared view, which is measuring heat. And that new storm just forming recently there. So have a read on that article on Cosmos Magazine if you like. Now, Pornhub has released a VPN. But first, let's talk about how Pornhub steps in to expose Android version stats that Google won't. And what are the stats? Well, I can't remember because I did a lot of show prep, but here's what it comes out. Pornhub is primarily viewed by Android OS Pie. 48% of viewers on Pornhub are using Android Pie. 23% are using Oreo. Yada, yada, yada. Here's the Apple users, primarily using iOS 13. So if you want to know who's using what, Google will not release the data on it. However, Pornhub will. So have a read if you like. Now, Pornhub has also released a free VPN that's totally not exclusively for porn. Now, I know Mozilla Firefox has a free VPN as a browser plugin. I believe it does. Don't quote me on that. And I haven't tried it out as I don't like Mozilla. But I'm willing to try it out if it allows me to have a free VPN. Now, I'm not using a VPN yet. It is one of the possible value chain partners we're looking at picking up as one of our, advertisers on the channel. Anyway, apparently you can download this VPN, and it's not perfect. It is free and unlimited, sort of. You can use it for free, but there are technically some limits on the unlimited service. While it works on Android, iOS, Windows, and Mac OS, you can only use it for free on mobile devices, which is because Pornhub says the vast majority of its 90 million daily users are on mobile. So that's where it's focusing. So if you want to check out the free VPN, check it out. I don't know if it's available from the Google Play Store or not, and I don't really care. But there is a paid version also. I don't know why you would use Pornhub's VPN in a paid version. Let's just move on. Let's talk about science-based tips to help you keep your New Year's resolutions. First of all, clarify and honor your values. In other words, tell people about it. They will hold your feet to the fire and make sure that you achieve your goals, or at least are held responsible for not doing so. Frame your goals in life in positive terms. Organize your New Year's resolution in such a way that it's for what you will do, not what you won't do. In other words, if you're going to quit something, take up something else. Change your environment to make it easier. Organize certain things. Make changes. Make changes that have big effects. Do you hate your doorknob? Change it out. Get a new one. Be prepared with if-then strategies. In other words, if this happens, then that. It's Boolean logic, folks. Use a gradual approach. Imagine rewards and enjoy them, as visualization is super important. And most importantly, be kind to yourself, even during setbacks. And if you don't have a New Year's resolution, how about just be kinder to yourself? It's always a good one. Cut yourself some slack. And remember, most New Year's resolutions fail by February. Dear Big Tech, you can't break the internet. However, the internet can break you. Let's talk about it. Yahoo Finance reporting on who from what company is donating to what political campaign, and this is hilarious. So check out the donations here. Joe Biden receiving only 0.8% of Google employee donations, with Bernie Sanders receiving 29.5% of Google employee donations. Microsoft, 26.3% of them are donating to Bernie. Facebook, 26.2% of those donations go to Bernie. Apple, 28.5% goes to Bernie. Amazon, 30.7% going to Bernie. Netflix looking a little more conservative here, with only 6.8% going to Bernie, and 22.4% going to Liz Warren, and 22.4% going to Kamala Harris. I wonder how Google feels about the 1.4% of their employees who've donated to Trump. I'm sure they're delighted. Anyway, we left links to the Zero Hedge article, depending on where you're watching, that is. Oh, big tech. Big tech, you're cute. You're cute, big tech. Let's talk about one of the most luminous infrared galaxies. It's WISE 1013 plus 6112. And it's very bright and hot. And I don't know what I was even going to say about this one. It's an extremely luminous dust-obscured galaxy. And I believe it's low in metallicity. I don't know. I really have no idea what I was going to say about this, but if you've got an opinion, please leave a comment. Fermi mission notices the Geminga pulsar emitting an X-ray halo, but only in certain wavelengths. Here's a demonstration. The 10 giga-electron volt band being the strongest. Anyway, the Geminga pulsar is an interesting pulsar, to say the least. We do track the transients of the Geminga pulsar, and this is giving indications as to the way that antimatter is affecting things, producing gamma rays, etc. So have a read if you want to learn something new about the Geminga pulsar. The work demonstrates the importance of studying individual sources to predict how they contribute to cosmic rays. It's one aspect of the exciting new field called multi-messenger astronomy, where we study the universe using multiple signals like cosmic rays in addition to light, as we're always interested in cosmic ray point sources. If you want to study the transients of the Geminga, just head to the Neil Gorell Swift Observatory, the Swift Bat telescope, and there are the Geminga pulsar transients. If you want to look it up, just head to this page. We always link the Neil Gorell Swift Observatory, the Swift Bat Hard X-ray Transient Monitor. Just hit Control F and type in Geminga, and there you have it. Now, if you're wondering where the Geminga pulsar is, it's located out by the Crab pulsar, on the way out beyond the Vela pulsar there, on the right side of the Milky Way. I spend most of my time looking at the Cygnus arm, which is located over here. And here's a high-res image complete with artist renditions of the Geminga pulsar. It's a very oddly shaped, it's got this mushroom sort of a feature, and it looks like it has poloidal fields coming out, and it looks like it's associated with a serious bow shock, an indication that it's in a strong galactic wind. And it's a very well detailed image there. Kind of looks like a squatter man. And there's a zoomed out version, the Geminga pulsar. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. We are about out of here. We've got a bonus feature, so don't go anywhere. And don't forget to tune into our solstice stream on Saturday night. We'll be streaming from 11 to 12 midnight, 11 p.m. to 12 midnight on Saturday evening. Don't watch SNL. Watch our live stream. DVR that SNL. And here's our bonus feature. It's the local yellow dwarf and 94 angstroms. And we're looking at 48 hours of activity there. Bright active region there in the northeast is not a sunspot. We do see one plasma sprite near the center there, a little north of the equator. That one coming in yesterday, I believe. And I don't know why that just did that. Anyway, we are out. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Don't forget to stare at the sun. Don't drink. If you drink, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may that solar wind be at your back and that atherosclerosis absent from your veins.